What's up, you heathens and demons, sinners and saints, beautiful blasphemous bastards? Welcome back to Knock TV. That sucks, Marty. Yeah, you worked my old shift, it seems. Yeah. Today, got out of work. As always, just too much going on. So, in the stream yesterday, I told you I was seeing something about a shooting. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Maybe catch up on the Epstein files. Of course, as soon as I start streaming is when my daughter comes up here. As soon. It never fucking fails. So give me a second. Alright. Aggravation. The aggravation of a father. I should take it easy on her. But it's like every time. Alright, so why does the president keep lying? It's like every fucking time there's going to be a shooting now, no matter what, it's going to be far left. If they can, they're going to tie it to transgender far left radicals. And it's playing down to a lot of people in MAGA. And then a lot of people in MAGA just aren't really buying it. And then a lot of right-wingers, like, just don't really buy anything that the FBI puts out. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at a Breaking Points video talking about what this new shooter's friends are saying. And it's quite different than what the president's saying, of course. And it's just like, why does the president keep lying about these things? And it's because he wants to create an atmosphere where people don't feel safe. That alone should be impeachable. Outside of, his attacks on the First Amendment, now he's going after James Comey. Letitia James is probably in the crosshairs, even though the last attorney couldn't find anything on her. So we're going to be asking the question, because I'm really tired of, fascists pretending this isn't fascism. So we're going to look at something on that. I'm not sure how long I'm going to stream today. I do work tomorrow. I am planning on having an open room. Now, maybe I decide to take a day off. Maybe I decide I don't want to talk to liars. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. But I don't know. We'll see if anybody shows up. If I do stream. If I do have an open room. But yeah, it just seems like the president is stuck on this, I don't know, brain tick of far left radicals must be eliminated from the country. And it's like, for one, like these people aren't lefties. Right now, it's the president has created an atmosphere of chaos, and a lot of these shit poster Reddit kids who have a lot of fucked up shit in their head are taking advantage of that. It's pretty much clear as day. Now, immediately, pretty much everybody left and right was saying this is like the worst black flag operation in the history of black flag operations. I still don't really know if the anti-ICE writing on the bullets is something that the kid wrote, and they're going to talk about it here, and they're going to do a pretty good job of talking about it here, I think. Or if it's something that ICE wrote to fit the president's narrative, because immediately the president comes out talking about anti-ICE, and just so everybody's clear, lefties don't go around saying we're anti-ICE. That's not like language we use. We say fuck ICE. We say abolish ICE. We say Gestapo. Right? Like, we don't say anti-ICE. We say anti-fascist, but we don't say anti-ICE. That's not a thing. That's not a thing people say. So I think I'm kind of leaning to, I think it was Vosh that said, it seems like, somebody told one of the officers on the scene, hey, make sure you put something on the bullet that says anti-ICE. That's like anti-ICE. And the dude just was like, all right, and wrote anti-ICE. It's like, what the fuck? This is absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, we'll start there with the current shooting. I thought this was a pretty good point. I really enjoy breaking points. Crystal is a lefty like me. She's a lot more pro-Russia than I am, so we definitely have disagreements on a lot of things. But I generally enjoy her politics, and Ryan Grimm is probably, in my opinion, one of the best journalists in D.C., so let's get at it.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome.
And it's a rarity, that the lefty is actually watching kind of lefty content,
Breaking Points, Ryan Grimm. Great to have you, my friends.
Always lovely to be here.
Lovely little commie takeover this
right.
morning, as promised. Lots to get to, for sure. We've got, actually, thanks to our friend Ken Klippenstein, some new details about this shooter at the ICE facility yesterday that ended up killing one migrant and critically wounding 2 others. So we'll break all of that down for you as far as we know at this point. We've also got some new moves from the Trump administration to charge Jim Comey and Letitia James. A lot going on there. Break down those details for you. We're going to have a live report from that Gaza aid flotilla. Actually, one of Ryan's colleagues is on board, so he is going to join us and give us an update as they have been under attack. We got another Ryan special for.
Yeah, that story is wild. I hadn't heard of the flotilla, but with the whole Charlie Kirk thing and even a little before, I just kind of gotten away from Gaza, more out of just like outrage at all the people that support genocide. It's just, I don't know. I call me naive. It's just I thought most people wouldn't support genocide, no matter who did it. But yeah, I was clearly naive. But that story is wild. If we have time today, we might look at it. I've got a lot of stuff queued up and a lot of stuff that I'm not going to be able to get to, so I doubt we'll get to it today. But that story was wild. Like Israel, like these people are literally trying to get aid to Gaza at the risk of their own lives. Israel's pretty much saying it's Hamas attacking these flotillas that have people on board, and they will be talking to somebody. I watched part of the interview that's actually on the flotilla as they're talking to him. It's horrific. Israel is, I mean, it's just a bad actor in the world. And it's really unfortunate that Israel has become that. It's really unfortunate.
Or you actually met with the president of Iran while he was in New York.
Hey,
so
what's up, Jefferson Spatchcock? Long time no see.
So yeah, we can break down how they're feeling about the fact that they're about to get attacked again for no reason.
Yeah, well, that will be really interesting to hear from you on that. We're also tracking a story out of North Carolina with potential national implications. Ryan and Sagar covered earlier this week the way that electricity prices are skyrocketing in part because of the expansion of these AI data centers. Well, in North Carolina, they're now trying to move legislation to make sure consumers are bearing the additional costs of these AI data centers.
Wait. So MAGA's in Republican North Carolina. I think they've got a Democratic governor, but trust me, North Carolina is a red state. And so all the MAGAs in North Carolina are going to be paying higher energy bills. Didn't Donald Trump promise, that he was going to bring down energy costs? Wasn't that like his big promise on how he was going to fix the economy?
So this is something you definitely want to pay attention to. And then, sticking with the AI theme, we have an expert
outside
joining
of the tariffs
us with
that are
a
disastrous.
dire warning, as dire a warning as you could possibly get, from his book, If anybody builds it,
I could have
everyone
skipped all this
dies.
shit.
I just
Probably
actually
should have.
finished listening to this book this morning. I was telling you, Ryan, and it's fairly persuasive, and it is deeply terrifying.
I would rather not be persuaded of that premise.
Maybe skip this book then. To be honest with you, maybe skip this book.
Better not let Ethan know that, you know, the friendly neighborhood atheist. Better not let him know that. He got really mad at me when I was talking about, like, the issues of AI and how we need to solve the problem of control. And, oh, no, AI it's fine, man. Bro, you just don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Because
I've read a bit about it, and I'm like, oh God.
yeah, so you can see all the like near-term effects of the use of the water and the skyrocketing of electricity prices and all of these and the consolidation of wealth and power, all of that. But his scenario is even bleaker, which is basically the end of humanity. So some uplifting content there at the end.
Will the memes keep getting made even after we're all gone?
After the apocalypse, will the super intelligence make memes? Probably so, but things in AI language that we would not
if we were here, we
be
wouldn't even
incomprehensible.
understand.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess that's the real tragedy here.
That is a real tragedy.
All right. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting us. BreakingPoints.com. If you're not already a member, you get.
I guess that's the good news. Like, if the fascists win, if America falls, fascism takes over the world, because it's on the rise everywhere, they'll just go ahead and create that super intelligence and the whole world can be over. So it'll be worth it at that point because the whole world should be over. That's how much we should say fuck fascism, right? Like if it's fascism or nothing, let it be nothing. If it's fascism or super intelligent AI robots, let it be the super intelligent AI robots. That's what I say.
Access to the full Friday show. We've already got some interesting topics planned for then, but let's go ahead and get to what we know about the shooter yesterday in Texas, targeting a Dallas ICE facility. 3 migrants were shot. 1 of them is dead. 2 of them are critically wounded. That's the latest we know this morning. Let's go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of.
All right, so right away, you get the premise of it, right? Migrants were killed and shot, right? So what we get from the FBI and what we got from Fox News at first were individuals. 3 people were shot. 3 individuals were shot at an ICE facility, trying to make their people think that ICE agents were shot. That's not the case. Another thing they said is, oh, he was firing indiscriminately. Bullshit, it seems like he was firing pretty discriminately. It seems like he only hit migrants, right? That's a very important fact, considering that the president is saying it was an attack on ICE, that it was a far-left radical attack on ICE, and none of that's true. Why does the president keep lying? Right wing. Why does your president want to start civil unrest? You guys can sit there and say it's us all you fucking want, but it's your president. Why is our president continuing to lie about violent events in America? It should be an immediate 25th Amendment. It should be an immediate impeachment. It should not fucking happen. Ever. The left wouldn't take it if a left president did the shit, but you constitutional Americans are all fucking traitors. You're all traitors to the Constitution and to the United States of America. That's what you are. You're fucking traitors.
Of a law enforcement press conference from yesterday.
Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a city officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
Like, so why would they even share that? Right? Like, it seems like the first thing we get with all of these fucking shootings now are messages that they want to link to left wing. Right? When it's all just Reddit meme culture. That's all it's been since the Minnesota shooter. Just a bunch of fucking crazy shit meant to get a reaction. And the meme of it is for people on the news to be talking about it. That's like the whole fucking meme of it. It's a politically violent meme because there's a whole slew of kids that have been fucked up by the internet. And I say kids, I mean young adults, some kids. The country is slap full of them. They don't have a left-wing ideology. They don't have a... I've always considered them right-wing, but it's not even really a right-wing ideology. I just consider them right-wing because most of them are bigoted. You know, they're fucking edgelords. They're nihilists. You know, I know the Christians out there, oh, you're admitting that they're atheists. No, they're not. Some might be. But they're shit posters. They're edgelords. They all go to Reddit where edgelords go and die, right? And like so much violence all across the world has spread from these like Reddit fucking shits and 4chan, 8chan, all that fucking crazy shit where the neo-Nazis go and they spread their propaganda. All this hatred breeds, and you literally see videos of people streaming on 4chan or whatever. I remember this one video. This kid gets out of his car. He's streaming on 4chan. He opens that back hatch, takes out an assault rifle, walks into a mosque, and you just start hearing screaming and shooting, right? Like that. The world is chock full of these people because we've been really irresponsible about the internet.
While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack.
There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees.
Your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work.
Are you sure about that? Are you absolutely positive about that? Maybe not Nazis, but fascists? And again, like, they want to put this on the left. What about the right's culpability here? What about Donald Trump putting so much money into this Gestapo? What about the ICE agents masking up, going into communities, terrorizing communities, arresting innocent fucking people that are not criminals, people that are not the worst criminals? That's what Donald Trump said at the UN, right? Like he's getting rid of the worst criminals in the country. No, he's getting rid of grandma. They're going into schools. They're going to court buildings where people are showing up to their court hearings. They're going to Home Depot. They're disappearing people. But no, it's the radical left. Like, honestly, what the fuck do you think's going to happen when you do this shit? Sooner or later, it's going to start breaking out. This was just a shit posting. And that's what you know, they're not going to say that, but that's what it was. A shit posting, and suicide, basically suicide by cop. As soon as the cops get there, he shoots himself. If he was a lefty, he would have taken out some fucking ICE agents, don't you think? If he's a lefty, he wouldn't be aiming at the migrants, don't you think? Common fucking sense. Like basic fucking logic. So why does the president keep lying? He keeps lying so as people get riled up because he knows, like a good percentage of them, they just want to kill liberals. They're done owning the liberals. It's time to kill the liberals. A good chunk of them. And if it's not kill, it's arrest. Same thing to them. But a lot of them are actually constitutionalists. A lot of them actually know that this shit is fucked up. And he's going to lose more and more of those people the farther he pushes this shit. Like, James Comey literally won him his first election. Literally. It's fucked up.
Together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other.
So Ted Cruz moving there immediately to make a political point. You heard them say there that they found bullets that had anti-ICE messaging. As it turns out, we can put Kash Patel tweeted this out. This is what they're saying that anti-ICE messaging is, which it literally just says anti-ICE. Let me read from you.
So, and why is the director of the FBI posting this and basically trying to rile up Republicans to, like, what, take vigilante justice in their own hands? Like, isn't that the point of this, right? Is to signal that it's time to get violent, that left is your enemy, that your neighbors are your enemy. And who really wants to see a fucking civil war? Like, I have called this shit since I started doing YouTube. People has been calling me crazy for years every time I say it. Like, I think we're going to have a civil war. Oh, you're fucking crazy, Knock. Here we are. Who really wants to do this? Another fucking American bloodbath? As if the last one, I think, like 800,000. It was a lot of, it was like the most people we've ever lost in war. And this time, it's going to be drones. This time, it's going to be pockets of severe violence. And like last time, it'll be cities destroyed. It'll be rubble and ash and death. And it's already going to be death just from the lack of health care. People are already starting to die. I'm fucking scared shitless about my kids' health insurance next month. Am I going to get it? Am I not? If I don't, can I get insurance? Can I afford it? Because if I can't, she's dead. Why does the president want Americans to die? And why are Republicans supporting it? They're traitors.
His post here, and let's just also say, like, for the FBI director to just be like tweeting out this unverified evidence is extraordinary and may create problems down the road in other, cases where you have future trial. But in any case, he says this morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing one, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities while the investigation is ongoing. An initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. See photo below, and that's of the bullet casing saying anti-ICE. One of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. These despicable, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement.
Hit the right button. So one of these reports, if not many of them, are saying that this blue writing here is engraved. Like, that's how inept this FBI is. They can't even get their fake shit right. Because that's clearly like a blue marker, right? Like, that's not an engraving. They think that their followers are stupid, and they're mostly right. They treat them like they're fucking children, and they should. They should, because they don't deserve any better.
Are not a one-off. We're only miles from Prairie Land, Texas. Just 2 months ago, bless you, Ryan, an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end. The FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were injured, as they don't care as much about the migrant.
Has anybody in the chat used or know anyone that's ever used the terminology anti-ICE? Like, what the fuck is going on in this world we live in?
Who were killed/injured. Please pray for the injured and deceased. Trump, of course, immediately seizing on this as well. Ryan can put this up on the screen. And JD Vance also, we have comments that we'll show you later, leaning into the idea of a explicitly political, ideological, radicalized attack here.
What's up,
Trump
Bond?
says, I've been briefed on the deadly shooting at the ICE field office in Dallas, Texas. It has now been revealed the deranged shooter wrote anti-ICE on his shell casings. This is despicable. The brave men and women of ICE are just trying to do their jobs and remove the worst of the worst criminals out of our country. But they are facing an unprecedented increase in threats, violence, and attacks by deranged radical leftists. This violence.
Deranged radical leftists. You know, like CJ Cox on Facebook posted this meme because CJ Cox has went straight Matt Powell with his bigotry. It's fucking crazy. I remember when I liked CJ, right? Remember those days when CJ Cox was like this kind of like moderate dude. I mean, he was never really moderate, but he was, I don't know, edible, right? Like, it's not, he wasn't going to poison you. And he posted this list that had like 7 names on it, and it had like, you know, Minnesota shooter, New Orleans shooter. You know, it didn't have names of people, just cities, 7 of them, dash transgender. And I'm like, gee, CJ, I wonder if we made a list of right-wingers that have committed shootings, how long would that list be? It's like these people don't give a fuck about reality. It's only about now they finally get to be bigoted again. They get to be racist. They get to hate fucking transgenders. They can fucking slap a woman if they want to. Like, really, who the fuck's going to stop them? Really, who the fuck's going to stop them? Christian fascism is here. Who the fuck is going to stop them? It's despicable that anybody would go along with this, that any American would go along with this. It's despicable and it's traitorous. They should be demanding the president stop. He's never going to listen to us. It has to be them, right? It has to be them saying, no, you're going too far, dude. We wanted to own the libs. We didn't want to like imprison them or kill them, right? Like this is going too far. It's going too far. And if you support this, how am I not supposed to call you a traitor?
Is the result of the radical left Democrats constantly demonizing law enforcement, calling for ICE to be demolished, and comparing ICE officers to Nazis. The continuing violence from radical left terrorists in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination must be stopped. ICE officers and other brave members of law enforcement are under grave threat. We have already declared Antifa a terrorist organization. I will be signing an executive order this week to.
Oh yeah, we'll be getting there, Halcyonic Kaihu. That's why I really liked the breaking points. This just came out today, I believe, because that's what they're focused on. Yeah, this was 3 hours ago. This is a really good piece. It's going to get into it.
Dismantle these domestic terror networks. I am calling on all Democrats to stop this rhetoric against ICE and America's law enforcement right now. Trump administration is fully committed to backing law enforcement, strong borders, securing our homeland, deporting violent illegal criminals, and fully rooting out the left-wing domestic terrorism that is terrorizing our country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, Ryan, obviously, you know, the national mood is quite fraught at the moment. You just had the assassination live that we all watched with horror of Charlie Kirk. You have the Trump administration using his martyrdom to, grab additional national security powers. He references there the Antifa terror organization, terror designation for the Antifa organization, which isn't even a thing that really exists, but whatever. Now he's floating another executive order to dismantle these networks, whatever that means. A lot of rhetoric coming from the administration about a coming crackdown, and now feeding this new shooting into that narrative to further justify this power grab.
Yeah, and the problem for Trump is that there's no evidence that, quote unquote, any networks or any progressive Soros-run.
Right.
Yeah, it's like who you're gonna go after, dude. Like you're gonna go after individual people and Antifa, like because there's no networks. But we know who he's going after. It's like Blue Wave. It's the fundamental institutions that the Democratic Party needs to actually run campaigns and win campaigns. You know, Blue Wave is like, you know, their fundraising app, right? Like it's not a far left wing organization. It's literally like the app they use to raise money for elections. That's what he's going after. I don't know, maybe a couple like left wing vegan groups, left wing animal groups. Like I don't know.
Institutions, you know, had anything to do with this shooting or with the shooting of Charlie Kirk. That it would almost be hopeful in a way, like, oh.
And let's not forget, like I just covered it. You know, these right wing groups are fucking scary, and they're still out there, and they're not focused on them at all. These right-wing anti-government groups that want to take over the government, the fucking groups that even go beyond that, just the chaos groups that just want to fucking cause chaos. They don't even care about shit. The neo-Nazis, the white supremacists that wants 1940s Germany and fucking America. Like, they're out there, and it's like our government is giving them a free pass right now. And do you think that they don't know that? The Boogaloo Boys, the Proud Boys, all of these fucking groups, you think they don't know that they've got free reign to do whatever the fuck they want? Excuse me. Despite the numbers that they've lost. And why have they lost numbers? Because, I don't know, ICE has been taking their members, right?
We found the networks that are doing this.
We can disrupt
we
it.
Found their
go after
funders,
their funding.
their leaders. We're gonna round them up. They're breaking the law. They're trying to run a little insurrection here. We're going to roll them up and put them all in jail. We almost wish that was the case. It's not. Like,
yeah, the Bond says the Charlie narrative is some BS. Yeah, I mean, and how are right-wingers, how are Charlie Kirk fans, how is Turning Point USA not just fucking outraged by the weaponization of that, right? By the outright lies. Like, you know, they probably don't have the right shooter, right? This kid probably didn't shoot any fucking buddy. He was probably freaked out when his fucking picture was all over the fucking TV. And even if he did shoot it, if he is the shooter, the FBI has been so inept that there's no case. Like he's gonna beat the case, just because everything they fucked up everything. Everything's fucked up.
And so Ken Klippenstein, we can put this up on the screen. Ken is,
thank you, man.
His new beat apparently is, you know, being the only one to do any reporting in the wake of these killings, and he was able to talk to, you know, 3 friends of Joshua John,
who was identified as the shooter.
If you know anything about shooters in America, mass shootings in America, what does this guy have in common with most shooters in America? I'll give you a guess. It's not transgender. It's young, white, cis male.
And who took his own life.
And what's interesting, and is a caveat for his reporting that he makes in the piece, none of them had been friends with him in recent years. So there's still a lot to be learned about his last year or two. Mm-hmm. But what they described is a person who spent his time on the 4chan, which is, how would you even describe it? It's like a right-coded, irony-laden, nihilistic den of young men.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
And that's where edgelords gather, and they say edgy things. They push them. They say things they don't mean in order to like get a rise out of people. They shield themselves in all of this irony. What his friend said is that his edgelord online behavior began to bleed into his real life personality.
Yeah.
And it was just brutally obnoxious. Like he was insufferable to be around.
Yeah.
And so people stopped suffering him.
Which is why, and they even say, like, if you're having trouble finding anyone who associated with him in recent years, this is why.
Because they don't exist.
Because we all withdrew
right.
from him because, he was too much to take.
And so So how does he go from there? And then, so when everybody saw the shell casings that Crystal put up earlier that had in blue marker written anti-ice,
Yeah.
the entire world was like, are you not even trying?
Like, really?
This is utterly absurd. First of all, left-wing people don't say anti-ice.
I disagree, Tom. They don't ask anybody. They don't. Do you think they ask? I think her name is Lance Briggs, right? You think they asked her? That would be the transgender girlfriend of Tyler Robinson, because they keep saying he, and they insist that the person is transgender. Are they asking? Are they asking? No, they're just quick to point the fingers at the transgender people, Tom. That's what they're doing. Right? We can't be the same, though. We can't do the same. Bullshit.
Right.
They say F ICE, abolish ICE, something like that. I've never heard them say anti-ICE.
No, and
Like,
yeah.
That's almost too parliamentarian. It's
Right.
like,
Gestapo,
it's too establishment to just say you're anti-ICE.
you
No,
know,
it's not.
secret
Now,
police.
His friends say
That's what we call it.
if that's authentic markering on those shell casings, it's ironic. It's like it's him sending some ironic message that is, and the purpose of it in some ways
We know the person wasn't trans, Tom. We know the person wasn't trans.
is what's going on right now with us two boomers here discussing like 4chan irony and meme culture on
Like we're
on a serious
anthropologists.
platform, like we're anthropologists. They love that because it's so ridiculous.
It's
so
I mean,
absurd.
It's a violent real world shitpost in a way.
Yeah.
To get everybody to, what does it mean and what were his politics, and to create just a mess. I mean, it's it could be seen as like accelerationist potentially as well. But I was telling you, Freddie DeBoer wrote a fantastic piece in the wake of the Tyler Robinson assassination of Charlie Kirk about this, the previous trend that we tend to, have internalized is there's some existing ideology, and then the violent act flows out of that, that ideology. And this is more like there's an absence of idea, there's an absence of meaning, and the killings are meant to create a meaning. And, I think Tyler Robinson, it's still a question mark to me whether he fits into that, because there seems to have been some sort of the genuine concern
Like
over
single
Charlie
issue,
Kirk's,
yeah.
single issue kind of fixation. But on that same day, you had this neo-Nazi, more right-wing school shooter. But again, it was all this like internet gobbledygook, memeology. So was he really a sort of through and through ideological neo-Nazi? It seems more like it came out of this same sort of fever swamp. And he modeled himself on another school shooter who was very similar with internet memes. The trans shooter that got so much attention in Minneapolis because of their gender identity, similar thing. Like, they put up a video.
And again, even she's doing it. The trans shooter in Minneapolis was detransitioning and had pretty much rejected anything transgender. And that's the thing that I pointed out on CJ Cox's list is the person was detransitioning. And if you look at the footage of the person going and buying the guns and the video of the guns and the crazy video he posted, he was clearly identifying as male. But beyond that, his ideology was neo-Nazi, satanic, and he worshipped school shooters, especially school shooters that shot little children. And he was part of a group, one of these acceleration neo-Nazi groups that just want to cause chaos, and they want to commit the worst atrocities they can commit. Waiting for their boogaloo day. which I still got to look at that one. I wrote it down on a document. I got to start researching that Order of the Seven, whatever, that crazy ass neo-Nazi group that I found out about in the stream the other day. Like, these groups are fucking scary. And that's not to say that there's never been a transgender shooter in America, because there has been. I think there's been like 5 or 6, which is a very small number in the overall comparison. A very small number. And honestly, like, the more you push people into a corner, the more you take away people's rights, the more you tell people that they don't have a right to exist or to be here, what do you think is going to happen? The worst tragedy of that is probably a lot of people are going to take their own lives. Some people will be able to get away. And some people will be driven to violence. And if the president continues on the course he seems hell-bent to fucking ride, which is like, I don't know, civil war? I mean, unless he thinks that, you know, the left won't go civil war if he makes the left illegal. I don't know. I don't know if we will. I don't know. Maybe he's banking we won't. None of it seems rational. All of it seems like we're at the mercy of a very old man with a very common thing for a person his age, especially with his lifestyle: dementia. And the fact that the president of the United States has fucking dementia and we're all suffering for it, and he's got the nuclear codes, should fucking terrify everybody. Everybody. It was bad enough when Ronald Reagan had Alzheimer's. It was bad enough when Joe Biden was hiding his cancer. But this is terrifying.
With over 100 different weird online like memes and symbols and all kinds of crap. So there seems very much to be a trend here. And I want to read a little bit from Ken's piece, because just so you get the specifics of what the friends were saying, and we're not just paraphrasing. So Ken writes, none of Joshua Jan's former friends believed that the anti-ICE inscription could possibly be sincere, feeling such a serious political statement was anathema to who Jan was. His humor was deeply ironic, often offensive and aggressive to the point of alienation. He was most certainly an edgelord, an irony guy, one friend said, edgelord being online speak for someone who likes to espouse edgy nihilistic views. Asked about the inscription on the bullet, the friend said, Josh was an edgelord who wanted someone to get blamed. I think he tried his best.
Why is the president making yet another edgelord Reddit kid gamer, and they're going to talk about his gaming, into this like far leftist dude? Why is the president and the FBI doing that? Doesn't that seem dangerous? Doesn't that seem irresponsible? Doesn't that seem impeachable? I don't understand any of this. It's fucking batshit crazy. It's an old man's dementia. And how the fuck can anybody follow this? How does my dad follow this? I know I saw Will Freeman, make some fucking comment like maybe you're the one that changed. Dude, everybody fucking changes. But not everybody gets brainwashed by a fucking cult and becomes somebody else and disowns their son over it. You fucking douchebag. Disowns their son because he's not in the cult. You fucking douchebag. Pretend to know anything about me. Like, it's why I went away from YouTube, because a lot of YouTube people fucking disgust me. CJ Cox right now, he fucking disgusts me. Worse than Matt Powell ever did. These so-called Americans and their big talk of love for the Constitution.
To write something goofy to rile people up. Another friend showed me a Facebook post describing how Jan had flooded his friend's comment section with rape jokes, quote, playful shock humor, the friend said. Jan's profile on the gaming platform Steam showed that the vast amounts of time he spent playing video games, particularly shooters, more than 6,000 hours on Rust, 3,000 on Team Fortress 2, and 1,000 on Left 4 Dead 2, even found time to play 3.5 hours in the past 2 weeks, which sounds like a real downtick in his video game playing time, only 3.5 hours. That's nothing. Among the dozen or so usernames he used was one reading hashtag impeachment. When I asked if this was not a clear reference to anti-Trump politics, his friends recoiled at the idea he would express opposition to Trump so sincerely
right back.
and straightforwardly.
I'll be here, but just turn my camera off for a
Instead, they saw it as part of the broader ironic persona, poking fun at anti-Trump resistance types. Now, they do say that he did not like Trump.
So,
and that
not a fan of Trump.
Yeah, but that he also didn't like any politicians. The only politician they mentioned him having spoken favorably of was actually Ron Paul. They said if any.
So this kid had libertarian politics, if any, and libertarian tend to side with the Republicans. Why is the president lying? Why is the president of the United States lying about his own citizens, lying about shootings of his own Gestapo? Why? Because he's doing something that's been done before. That's why. He's following a certain playbook, and we're going to get into that after this.
Anything, they'd pin his politics as more libertarian. So look, again, your caveat is important that these are people who have disassociated with this guy for a couple years. But we do also have his brother coming out and saying something similar about, like, he didn't really care about ICE. He wasn't really particularly political. And so clearly, and you also have an administration, you know, that you can't trust. Like, the FBI is completely political and run by an incompetent moron and fool, which is why so many people, the minute that the, you know, anti-ICE bullet casings drop, are like, there's fucking no way that that's real. I actually, now that I've seen this reporting, I actually am more willing to buy that that is legitimate, because it is such a weird thing to write anti-ICE that it does feel like something a shit poster would do.
Just messing with you.
Just messing with you, exactly. So in that frame, like with Ken's framing here, it actually does make more sense to be that that could actually be something that's real.
And in the end of it, though, our attempt to like make any sense of this is always going to be broken by the fact that this is a person who went and took the life of at least one person, put two in critical condition, ironically.
Right.
And it's just impossible.
And you know, like, Democrats should be up in arms. They should be in front of every fucking TV camera, every Fox News camera, asking, why is the president lying? Why is the president trying to start violence with citizens he's sworn an oath to protect? Instead, we get strongly worded letters from Schumer and fucking Jeffries, and it looks like Schumer's probably going to cave on the shutdown. Which, and, you know, like, honestly, like, if Trump wants a shutdown, you probably shouldn't give him one. But at the same time, it's like, you got to fucking do something to stop this shit. This country is fucked. And the Trump voters that, you know, they voted to break the system, they've broken it. They've broken it. And they deserve the blame. Now, I know there's a lot of talk of, like, we've got to let them in, and I've talked it, and we do. We've got to forgive, but we cannot forget. And I think that we've got to take strong, decisive action once we do have power again to make sure this never happens again. And people need to go to prison. All these people willing to break the Constitution should be tried for treason. treason. Before, it was they should have been tried for covering up for some pedos. But we're at a different level now. We can lump the PDF files, the Epstein files, in with it. But we're at a different level now.
As somebody who is like just still, well grounded, to identify with that. Like you can go back and read about like far right like violence or far left violence in Europe and like Italy and Germany against the fascists or whatever. And you say,
atheist worst
like,
nightmare.
I wouldn't want to participate in that myself, but I get it. Like,
Right.
This makes rational sense in
There was an
in the
existential
arc of
threat.
human
Yeah.
history. It's just impossible to get to a place where you can understand like how you go from where he was to like, I'm going to get a rifle and ironically shoot up an ICE building when I don't even like care about ICE that much. And I'm going to care so little about it that I'm actually going to kill detainees.
Right. And troll with the bullet casing. A lot of people were noting, I don't know a lot about guns, guys, but they called this like a stripper clip, where these were intentionally left, right? They were not used and sort of like just intentionally left there. Yeah. And so this, like, assuming this is like, if we're taking the government's word for it and this is legitimate, that was an intentional statement, like a troll, but in the most disgusting, violent way imaginable. And so, Ryan, I know if Sagar was here, we would be having probably a debate at this point, because we've already had several versions of this debate about, he would go down this degeneracy, video games. We don't know anything about this guy's like porn habits in particular, but he'd say porn addiction. Like there's a
lockdown. Like this kid suffered through, the lockdown, the COVID lockdown. He doesn't.
Sagar doesn't usually bring that part up,
should.
but that could go along with this as well.
It turbocharges all of the other things.
But he's more inclined to go in the direction of like, we've got to cut off the video games, we've got to like regulate porn, we need to, he's more in that camp. And I am in the camp of you have to deal more with the root causes. Like the whole world has the internet. Many Asian cultures are much more game addicted than we are and spend a lot more on video games, a lot more time on video games than we do. And yet we're the only country.
Let's see, midnight. Atheist's worst nightmare. Maybe you're in the deletion cult. Are you threatening violence? Atheist's worst nightmare. I think you might be a cuck. So what's up, Midnight? What's up, Maynard? Save, smoke weed every day. And everybody's favorite white supremacist, Jill.
That has these, only developed country that has these routine mass shootings, routine school shootings. So there's something specific to the American political context that is creating this. And so I'm curious what your view is on kind of the underlying factors that are leading to now we have these repeated instances of these sort of black pill nihilist edgelord killers.
To me, one of the only explanations, well, first of all, this guy's got a gun. Like in a lot of countries, this guy doesn't have any access to a gun.
Yeah.
It's just like the idea that he could even get one to this kid in most countries would be absurd.
Yeah.
Like it's just not possible.
Have a gun. His brother says he wasn't a great marksman, but that he grew up in a gun culture. Like he was used to handling firearms from a young age. Obviously, Tyler Robinson, even to a greater extent, grew up in like, sort of extreme, what I would call extreme gun culture. There's all sorts of family photos of them, with various weaponry, et cetera.
Right. So that's one obvious distinction. The other has to be something about hopelessness and a lack of meaning.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because if you look at just straight up, wealth, GDP, et cetera.
No, I think these Reddit kids, they kind of just look for moments, that are where they can make these stupid statements and people will actually be talking about it like we are right now, right? So, like, if we didn't live in the just fucked up society that we live in, this shit would rarely happen. If we gave a shit about human life in America, this shit would rarely happen. You know, the very same people that will tell women they can't have abortions because they're pro-life or pro-gun and guilt by association, I'm sorry, pro-death. It's just the reality we live in. We could have done something by now to regulate firearms in a way to make it to where all these crazy ass people ain't getting guns and shooting people up. We could have done something to at least dampen that effect. But we haven't. We haven't. They want to blame the left. The very people that have tried to push gun regulation in America. The very people that have tried to fucking deal with the issues of gun violence in America. It's our fault now. The gun violence in America. It's our fault. Why? Because we call fascist fascist. That's why. Fascists really don't like it when you call them fascist. It hurts their feelings because they're pussies and they're babies and they're snowflakes.
Like the United States, compared to every other country, is doing better.
Right.
But there's something about the direction of the country and people's sense of whether or not their futures are going to be better than the last generations. Mm-hmm. That makes it so it doesn't matter what the absolute score is. Whether like, okay, this guy had, a lot of people around the world would love to be able to, have the video game console or consoles that he had and access to nice TV and like all the things that allowed him to play the thousands of hours of games. But at the same time, he also must have had, forget him, like in general, Americans have like a deep sense of hopelessness about the future. And so it's just telling them, well, you're doing better than.
I think I have over like 1,000 hours in Sims 4, but that's like over like 11 years. Like holy shit, like I could, well, I guess I could because I did for a while in WoW. I played, when I was playing WoW a long time ago now, for about 4 years. I mean, I don't even know how I worked jobs. I played WoW so much. Like, I don't know how many hours I put in, but it had to be a lot. So I can't really talk shit, but that's a lot of gaming. It's a lot of gaming.
People in Thailand.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I don't care. Like,
right.
I feel miserable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a seeming decline in living standards because WoW.
In my defense, right? So WoW, when I first started playing WoW, it was like being inside of one of my favorite books because fantasy genre has always been my favorite books to read. Still is, always will be to the day I die. I love the magic, the feeling of magic you get inside it, and that's what when I first started playing WoW, I got that feeling of magic, right? And it was like fucking amazing, man. And it was WoW Vanilla way back in the day, and Burning Crusade, WoW Vanilla, Burning Crusade, and Wrath of the Lich King was when I was in my prime, and I wanted to be, if not one of the best players in the world, I wanted to be up there. I wanted to be on one of the best guilds. I wanted to be raiding and competing for world first. And I did that for about 4 years. And that requires a lot of time. And somehow worked a fucking full-time job the whole I don't know how I did it. Because I was literally playing like 12 hours a day probably. The things you can do when you're young,
Well, there's a plethora of sort of like inexpensive items available, the key building blocks, housing, education, healthcare, more and more expensive. I think being in the tail end of neoliberalism here has hit men harder than women in a way, because so much of men's like the cultural value, what the culture says to men is like, you're a man if you can provide. And then it's so difficult to be able to do those things, to be able to have the job, have the, the family, do the thing that your parents and grandparents did. And so, and of course you guys know, none of this is like justifying, it's just trying to grapple with like, what the hell is actually going on here? Because it's very difficult, as you said, to understand. It's actually impossible to understand, but I think we have enough data now to say that there is some broader, deeply troubling trend that's,
Ah, I see. I see. Atheist worst nightmare. I see. I see you. I see you now. I dig it. Jill is even more of a beta than I figured from his action. I figured I would get at least one good whimper out of him. Jill. Oh, Jill.
Then this is something that Sagar has said, like, it would be more comforting if it was like a Weather Underground sort of situation. We're like, here's the Antifa network, and we're going to disrupt them, and we're going to
here's what they want.
Yeah, we're going to J. Edgar Hoover them, and
Yeah.
we can get to the sources of funding. We can deal with this.
All right. Yeah, I think we'll move on. It's 4:30 already. We spent an hour on that. But yeah, I mean, it's just fucked up. And why is he doing it? Why is the president doing this shit? Well, a lot of it's dementia, but a lot of it's also he's a fascist, and the people around him are fascists, and they're running by a certain playbook. So this guy is going to ask you a question: is MAGA really a fascist movement? And he's going to let his description of fascism be the answer. I really dug this video. I'm really tired of the lies from people that know they're fascist and try to justify that this isn't fascist. To the point that they'll say the definition of fascism is a left-wing definition. Like, bitch, I'm using Webster, right? Like, I'm using the AI overview if I'm not using a Webster dictionary fucking version of it. It gets very frustrating. So this guy's going to kind of explain what fascism is, and I think it's going to kind of answer the question of why is Donald Trump doing all this shit he's doing right now.
Is MAGA a fascist movement, or is it the opposition?
Left-wing fascism.
Some people are still trying to figure this out.
Fascists. They are fascists.
So let's clear it up. Fascism was invented by a guy named Mussolini, and he named it after the Roman fasces, an emblem of authoritarian power. In Latin, fasci means a bundle, and in ancient Rome, the fasces icon was the image of rods bundled together with an axe, representing conformity through force, strength in numbers, and power through violence. Mussolini, just as a reminder, was the Italian dictator who sided with the Nazis and ruled Italy. He'd ultimately be responsible for the deaths of 500,000 people until he was finally captured by Italian socialists and communists who hung him upside down from a gas station. So Mussolini was opposed to democracy. He thought democracy in general was a failure because it wasn't really able to crush communism and socialism, and just in general, working people should not unite against wealthy interests. That's divisive, and it leads to international unity between people all over the world, which is not good for...
So, did you pick that up? Working people should not be able to unite against the interests of their betters. Right? That's Trump. Tax cuts for the rich, not for the poor. In fact, the poorest Americans, my taxes went up $1,000. He's attacked labor unions, any kind of unions. He creates propaganda to pit workers versus workers, right? And that's the fascist playbook. That's why he goes out and he says that what makes me different from Charlie is I don't love my opponents, I hate my opponents. He wants American workers that are on the right to hate American workers that are on the left. And it's been that way for a while. That's why they play these culture wars. It's the purpose of the culture wars. To deflect from the real enemy. The wealthy. And fascism comes out of the wealthy. They're afraid of us. They're afraid of our progression. They're afraid that workers are smarter, more intelligent, and we're demanding more of our rights. There is finally a movement in this country that is a left-wing movement. A movement that will hopefully lead to a better society. And that terrifies them, because that means they cannot hoard all of the wealth anymore. Because that's what they are. They're wealth hoarders. At the cost of everything. They're wealth hoarders. That's why Donald Trump needs to turn our White House, the house of the people, into a palace for a king. That's why the Rose Garden is now the Rose Garden Club, or whatever the fuck he calls it. That's why he'll stand in the Oval Office and talk about all the billions he's made since he's been president, openly giving no fucks about any emoluments clause anymore. Like he at least pretended in his first term. But he gives no fucks anymore. Oh, I won $19 million from ABC. They let Jimmy Kimmel back. This one sounds more lucrative. Gives no fucks. None. And these little fucking sheep, I guess they're cool with the crumbs they're given. As long as Elon Musk will tell them where to sit and who to bark at. As long as Donald Trump will point the finger and say, the radical left extremist transgender Antifas. It's pathetic. But what's even more pathetic than the Donald Trumps and Elon Musks of the world, who are just terrified of the billions of us that should be united. What's even worse than them are the fucking people that go along with it. They say, yes, sir, you're right, sir. I don't deserve to have what you have. You are better than me. You must be. Because you have everything that you have. And I know when I start having just a little bit more than the people around me, I like to hoard that over them. So I get you, sir. Can I lick your toes? Can I give you a reach around? Would you like me to bark like a dog?
War. And war, he thought, was good for Italians. Now, who were Italians? Oh, Mussolini believed he should get to decide who was a real Italian and who was not, which he eventually just identified as white people. And so his primary...
Sound familiar? Who's American, who's not? Mostly white people. Sound familiar?
message eventually was that white Italians were getting replaced and diluted by foreign races and religious heretics who were all weakening Italian culture.
Oh my God. You're telling me that the Great Replacement theory isn't some grand invention of America? Like we didn't fucking come up with this shit? Are you telling me that seriously?
So he adopted Nazi-like laws to maintain a white supremacist caste system and defend good white Christian culture against Ethiopians, Somalis, Roma, Jews, leftists, homosexuals, anybody outside the club. And so he organized and he financed paramilitary squads, black shirts, who he sent to terrorize and arrest anybody who wasn't a real Italian, and he used concentration camps.
Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar at all? Black shirts, ICE, paramilitary force, getting rid of those that aren't real Americans, even though they've been here contributing to our society. Sound familiar? Where's CJ Cox? Where's CJ Cox to tell me that I'm wrong, that this can't be fascism because we haven't gotten rid of the other party yet? Oh, wait, that's what we're trying to do right now. That's what all this rhetoric is for right now, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Camps and mass deportations.
It's a playbook.
He cracked down on journalists and comedians and artists who criticized him, and he exercised control over private corporations who were monopolizing every market from food to healthcare to manufacturing and so forth. He got those.
Does that sound familiar? Tariffs. Did that sound familiar? Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert. Who's next? The other Jimmy guy. I never found the other Jimmy guy that funny. Not even when he was on SNL. And some other, just going after the people you don't like. I mean, does any of this sound familiar? Does any of it, Jill, are you still there? Does any of this sound familiar to you, bro? But we know, like, Vosh got you to admit that you're a Nazi, so.
Schools and universities brought under his control. The radical textbooks were rewritten to properly glorify Roman heritage, nationalism, and militarism. And he struck a deal with the church, and so Catholic instruction also became mandatory. And so now we understand fascism to be a cult of national purity enforced through violent domination by the fusion of state and corporate power with no loyalties to anything other than itself. Fascism becomes a religion, another word which means to bind. And speaking of religion, sometimes he
Oh, gosh. Know how we keep calling you a cult? How you just follow the great leader no matter what? How it seems to be like maybe your great leader might be just a little bit more important than even your Jesus nowadays. And that's why you have so many like Christians like that aren't part of the cult trying to tell you like you're in a cult. What are you doing? This isn't Christianity. Sound familiar?
announced Islam as fanatical, killing tens of thousands of Libyans, and then turning around and posing himself as a champion of Islam when he thought it would suit his expansionist plans. Because in fascism, truth and law are not defined by reality, but by whatever the leader says. And to amplify...
That can't be true. Like, that really wasn't part of fascism, right? Because, I mean, that's like the reality we live in, right? Like, I mean, is it even an argument? The only argument we should be having is about how in the fuck did America forget what fascism was? That's the argument we should be having. How in the fuck can Donald Trump get so far with it before people are like, hold up, bro, what the fuck you doing? That's the argument. That's the important question. How did so many people in America get brainwashed into fascism? That's an answer we must have when all of this is over.
Its emotional strength. Fascism has to be built on a myth of a glorious golden past which has lost its greatness, which is why it thrives in times of economic crisis when people are struggling and feeling humiliated and searching for jobs and meaning, answers.
Does that sound familiar? The glorious past, the time when America was America, and we're going to make America great again. Does that sound familiar? You know, America's too brown now. It's too brown. Soon, hell, white people ain't even going to be the majority in America no more. Sound familiar?
So what the hell's going on? And so in times like these, the ruling class, who are usually the culprits behind these crises, like to blame scapegoats to avoid getting overthrown. And who were those scapegoats? The foreigner, the immigrant, the leftist, the other, all the divide.
Oh my God. The foreigner, the immigrant, the leftist, the other? How is he describing 2025 America when he's talking about fascism? Republicans. Explain it to me like I'm stupid.
Divide and conquer tactics of what we now call culture wars. That is fascism, invented by Mussolini, exemplified by Hitler, this one blood, one language, one soil ideology that pretends a nation and its strongmen leader or leaders are the only things that can protect you and your culture and your way of life. Of course, the great irony of fascism is that it does not preserve cultures, it flattens them. For example, until a few hundred years ago, the place we now call Italy used to have 6, 7 major languages: Sicilian, Neapolitan, Venetian, Sardinian, Piedmontese, Lombard, all these languages as different from each other as English and French. And less than 3% of Italians spoke what we now call Italian. Back then it was called Florentine Tuscan. This language just named after the city of Florence, Firenze, in the region of Tuscany. And the thing about Italy that's so amazing is that despite Mussolini, half the country still retains its regional languages at home. It's spoken in families. And a big reason why is because of where the Italian unification movement came from. It came from an idea that cities and regions could unite against the domination of an authoritarian empire. And this is the most important part of the story. The activist journalist, a guy named Giuseppe Mazzini, who spearheaded Italy's unification movement, was inspired by the French Revolution.
So, what defeated Italian fascism? Activism. Being active. He's not going to mention it here, but the original version of Antifa, anti-fascist, they were brutal. They would capture fascists and skin them alive. Hang them up by their feet, skin them alive. That's what they did to fascists in Italy back then. That's what they did. And fascism was defeated in Italy.
The French Revolution had overthrown their monarchy, whose financing of foreign wars had led to the starvation of its people. So Mazzini was arguing publicly with
I mean, imagine that. Italian anti-fascists were just brutally murdering fascists if they got their hands on them, right? And Donald Trump is labeling modern-day Antifa as a terrorist organization because they stand nose to nose with fascists and protest and fight back. Sometimes they start the fights. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes they get itchy. I ain't gonna lie. But a lot of times, it's the fascists starting the fights. And usually the fascists will have guns. I used to take part myself way back in the day. Too old for all that shit now. But like, he's crying about like anti-protest. To where back in the day, what OG Antifa was doing was far, far worse. But, you know, like, a fascist would be terrified of it getting to that point again. You want to nip that shit in the bud, right? You want to nip that shit in the bud real quick.
Karl Marx. Marx thought Mazzini was ignoring the corrupting power of aristocracy that was going to divide working people along national lines. And Mazzini thought that Marx's scientific reduction of people to economic animals denied humankind a moral, religious unity that could really lift them up. Now, where they agreed was in equal rights for all people. Equal rights for women, the end of slavery, universal education. Gandhi called Mazzini an inspiration because Mazzini's understanding of human rights was grounded in a sense of obligation to each other, a conscious decision of the citizens of cities to work together for the common good, and that the nation was actually just a stepping stone toward a global community, the unification of all cities against tyranny for universal human rights. Now, Marx thought this was just romantic.
Yeah, see, they hate the idea of globalization because once people understand that we're all people and not enemies, we have really no use for the ruling class anymore. That's how we evolve beyond government, for you libertarians out there. They try to make globalization this code for worldwide Jewish domination. And they just demonize it like it's the world's greatest. It's the world's most evil thing ever. But at the same time, they'll glorify all of the advancements of Western civilization, and it'll be an argument for why Christianity is the true religion. Yahweh is the one true God. Unable to see the hypocrisy of the two conflicting beliefs. See, think whatever you may about me and my intelligence. I admit, I'm not the brightest apple in the bunch, but I'm not the dullest apple in the bunch. But one thing I've always done is self-reflection. I've always tried to improve myself. And eventually I'll get to the truth of myself. I'll get to the truth of my own bullshit. Sometimes it'll take a while, but eventually I'll get there. It's called self-reflection. It's the hardest thing in the world to do. It's so easy to point the finger at other people and judge their actions. It's really hard to look at yourself honestly and judge your own.
Romantic nonsense. And as a former playwright, Mazzini was a bit of a romanticist. That's why he endorsed Tuscan as the common language for Italia, because it had been used by all the great Tuscan poets, novelists like Dante, who had denounced the corruption of religion, Petrarch, who'd railed against the decadence of petty tyrants, Boccaccio, who satirized power. And so this whole unification movement was tied to this artistic spirit of rebellion, of individuality, starkly opposed to monarchies and authoritarians, separatists. But that vision of a nation, Mazzini's vision of a nation, got totally hijacked by Mussolini, who twisted that concept of a stepping stone to global unity into one of regional domination, the worship of a nation whose diverse peoples must all conform to the image of Mussolini himself, fascism. So in the end, Marx had been right. Mazzini's vision lacked solidarity between the working classes of the world. It fed new rivalries now between nations. And Marx had even predicted that an isolated working class in a stalemate with its aristocracy could easily fall victim to a charismatic authoritarian who'd rise above them all, pretending to represent the people while safeguarding elite interests. But Mazzini was also correct that a sense of duty, sacrifice, and higher purpose was more universally appealing in giving life meaning.
Didn't mean to do that. Putting my earbud back in. It's probably time to stop. We're done with it anyway. Yeah, I mean, he never answers, like, is MAGA fascist? He just tells you what fascism is. How it looked in Italy when it was first, it really became a thing. Like, they say Mussolini invented it, but I don't think that's true. I think that fascism's always been around. People have always done it. Mussolini just gave a name to it. I think Andrew Jackson was a fascist in a lot of ways. But by the definition of fascist, I don't think it could be. I don't know. I'd have to really think about it. Where you at, CJ Cox? All right. Man, I've been streaming almost an hour and a half. I don't know if I should actually watch this or save this for later. See, this is about Christian nationalism. This is an interesting but somewhat boring conversation. I think I'm gonna definitely. I think maybe we'll watch this and call it a day. This is like a catch up on the Epstein files, by a kind of a right slanting dude. But we'll just go here. This is kind of a more current Epstein Files update from Midas Touch Network.
Donald Trump made a pretty stunning admission about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Some might even call it an incriminating admission. This also comes at the same time where an undercover citizen journalist got videotape, a hidden camera of a fairly senior DOJ Epstein investigator who revealed that Epstein was in the CIA and had other foreign contacts that may be relevant. The DOJ denies that this individual was a senior DOJ official, but James O'Keefe's team got that on tape. And this also comes at the same time that the discharge petition in the House of Representatives, which would force a vote on the House floor to release the Epstein files, just got that 218th signature as the newly elected Democratic Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva is going to be sworn in soon. And I know
I don't know if she'll be sworn in soon enough, because I think, or maybe it's in the, I don't know. I have to look into it. But I know Mike Johnson at least is trying to leave, but maybe the Senate will still be there.
MAGA Republicans want to try to delay her from being sworn in, but all of this confluence of factors is happening all at once. So let's start with Trump's stunning and perhaps incriminating admission right here. Donald Trump said, people don't understand that Palm Beach in the 90s was a very different time. People were doing different things back then that may not make sense in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, from this reporting, and this is Wall Street Journal. This is no left-wing publication. This is like Trump has been really worried about the Epstein files getting out because he knows he did fucked up shit. Maybe he doesn't do it anymore because he's an old dude now, and maybe, you know, maybe 38's the new 14, if you get what I'm saying. But he knows back then he was doing fucked up shit, and it's gonna ruin him. And he knows his friends were doing fucked up shit, and it's gonna ruin them. And everybody knows it. They're all protecting pedophiles. I'm not even going to cover it up with the PDF thing. How disgusting. It's disgusting. Like, are you a human being if you cover up for pedophiles? Are you still have any humanity in you if you can cover up for pedophiles? Pedophiles that are still doing it. They're still out there free. Oh my, it's sickening.
Donald Trump says, why is everyone so fixated on this Epstein issue? How could we make it die down? This comes from bombshell reporting by the Wall Street Journal. They're undeterred. Hat tip to Rebecca Ballhaus and her team of Josh Dowsey and Ryan Barber. Those reporters at the Wall Street Journal are fearless. They're doing good work. The Wall Street Journal article yesterday is called Inside the White House Struggle to Tame the Epstein Crisis, Finger Pointing, Disorganization, and Unforced Errors by Trump Advisors Made the Problem Worse. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? You remember when Donald Trump said that to the press? Well, he was saying that to all of his advisors. According to this article, there were multiple meetings in the Oval Office. How do we cover it up? How do we make it go away? What do we do? And they eventually decided on the plan to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell in Tallahassee, where she was serving her sentence after she was convicted of child sex trafficking, and she was in that maximum security facility she was sentenced for over 20 years. Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney, Todd Blanche, interviewed her. They moved her to the minimum security facility, for which they needed a Bureau of Prison waiver for her, since convicted sex traffickers are not allowed to be in Camp Bryant, Texas, a minimum security facility near Texas A&M University. But as you go through this article, it has more bombshell revelations as well. All
right, let me turn off my camera for just a few minutes. I'll be right back.
Attorney General Pam Bondi was complaining to other officials that the FBI leadership was trying to destroy me. They're all out here trying to destroy me. Why are they leaking information about me in the internal Discord? What is happening? Pam Bondi was losing her mind. Also, Trump told aides that he was worried that some of his close friends might be mentioned in the files. And get this, Trump worried out loud that the files might have been doctored to hurt him. Okay, Donald, they were doctored to hurt you, just like the birthday card, right? There was a time-traveling doctorer or forger who went back in 2003 and forged your signature. But the FBI and DOJ's not worried about this time-traveling forger. Oh, and let me get this straight. All of the other letters were accurate, like Lord Mandelson, the United Kingdom ambassador to the United States, who lost his job as the ambassador to the U.S. because...
All right, 1 second, guys. All right. Sorry about that. I didn't want to let it keep playing. I had somebody come up. So, all right, let's continue.
I guess that time-traveling forger didn't forge Lord Mendelssohn's signature. That one was real. All the other rich men were their signatures were real. But Donald's, the time traveler forger, got you. How utterly ridiculous. There's more from this article as well. When Donald Trump found out that Wall Street Journal was going to publish the article about the birthday card, Trump was on Air Force One and he told his aides, just shut up. I will handle it myself. I'm going to handle it. So he calls up Rupert Murdoch and he goes, Rupert, kill the story. Rupert, you better kill the story. And Rupert's like, I can't do anything about it. I can't kill the story right now. And so it was published by the Wall Street Journal. Donald Trump then sued the Wall Street Journal. There's now litigation. The Wall Street Journal filed a motion to dismiss. And they said, first off, we've got the letter now. It's Donald Trump's signature. But even if you assume...
Like, how does anybody follow this dude? And how can they rationalize it? Like, I thought about watching another video of the dude talking to his old MAGA mom. And I don't know. I don't think I'm going to watch those videos anymore because it just makes me so enraged. The cognitive dissonance. The way they just deny. It's just immediate denial if they're shown any kind of like truth about Donald Trump at all. It's really disturbing to see, and I don't like watching it anymore. At first I thought it was fun, but I don't like watching it anymore. It hits way too close to home. You know, I remember I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, right? Those were my formative years. And in the 80s and the 90s, there was a lot of cults, and it was all over the TV. And, you know, I never thought, like, you know, I'd ever be part of that, like, ever. You know, and this was way before, like, atheism ever really, you know, like, I was still a Christian. So just one second. So I thought of it along those terms where cults were like just these really weird fucking things that, you know, you had to like kidnap the person back from and deconvert them. But now like the whole country's a cult and it's really fucking scary. So, all right, I'll be right back.
Assume that we don't have the letter. We don't have Donald Trump's signature. What would be defamatory about a birthday card that says our secrets will never age or enigmas never age and our deepest, darkest secrets or whatever the hell it said? If you want to apply a defamatory meaning, you must be pretty sick. By the way, a great motion to dismiss by the Wall Street Journal, right? What's defamatory about this? Donald Trump, you were out there partying with Epstein. You said he's a great guy who likes women on the younger side. It's a direct quote.
Man, today, streaming was not a good idea today.
were found liable, Donald, for sexual assault. You're on audio saying that when you're rich, you get to sexually assault women, and when you're rich, you get away with it. You talk about going into beauty pageants and looking at the girls naked at beauty pageants. So explain the defamatory aspect. Even if the letter was not real, which it is real, what's the defamatory aspect about it?
Yeah, that's good to hear, Brojo. I mean, you know, I get it. I get why people wanted to break the system because the system hasn't been working for anybody. You know, like I wanted to break it. Like I got in a lot of fights with liberals on my Facebook and even with lefties actually, or no, with liberals because like I was defending, you know, the people in Dearborn. Just a second. Getting aggravated now. I was defending the people in Dearborn at the time that were doing their protest vote, and I'd even talked like at some point like lefties had just got to one day just do a protest vote, but it became very apparent very quickly that like Trump could not become president again. So it was very easy for me to vote for Kamala, but I argued, you know, in defense of people that wouldn't, and I got in a lot of arguments over that shit. So I get it. I understand the frustration, and I understand why people wanted to burn down the system, or at least make the system work a little better for everybody. A lot of times, if you go into Ruby Red country and actually talk to people, they understand that the reason they don't got nothing is because of the wealth hoarders. They understand that fully. It's just, a lot of it's family tradition, but it's also that they thought that Trump was their billionaire. That he knew the inside of the game and he was on their side and he was going to fucking, expose it all for them. And it's got to be a hard reality to realize he was the inside. In fact, he was the worst of the inside. But too many people just are not realizing it. Like, the Trump derangement syndrome, the only people that have it are the people that follow Donald Trump. And I'm not saying it in the bad way that they try to say it about us. I'm saying that, like, you've been manipulated by one of the best manipulators there is. It's how he's still relevant. It's because all he does is manipulate shit. Manipulate the media, brand. Brand is just media manipulation. That's all it is.
Okay, so going from Donald Trump saying, no one understands, Palm Beach was just different in the 90s, man. You don't know what men were like in the 90s. Very different stuff was going down back then. Gross, disgusting, incriminating, perhaps. Okay, then you...
I agree. And I think that sooner or later, because I don't think this is going away, right? Because most people most good people, and we still are the majority, just are not chill with pedophiles. We're just not. Like, it's bad enough we have to deal with it inside of our families, our churches. You have to worry about it if you take your kid to daycare. That's bad enough. But for the people of power, of wealth and privilege, to feel like they can just abuse their lessers to that extent and still think that they should be afforded that wealth and privilege by any means necessary, eventually we will get a government that will demand it. And yeah, it's like they're gonna, in order to have to keep a secret, they're gonna have to start taking out politicians and shit. It's gonna be a little more than taking out Epstein victims. And I hope them Epstein victims are staying safe, man, because I would not have come out and said that if the list doesn't come out, we'll make our own list. I mean, that's got to be a very dangerous thing.
You go to this part right here and hat tip to O'Keefe Media Group at o'keefemediagroup.com. That's they're doing good work here. Gotta give them credit for capturing this on tape. So they got this guy right here, the senior DOJ investigator, Glenn Prager. He at least holds himself out as a senior DOJ investigator. And take a look at this exclusive bombshell where here he talks about how Epstein would pay off the girls. Here, play this clip.
How about this whole Epstein thing that's like going on?
So I worked on that case. I used to interview all the victims. And my picture was 20 to 30 victims in Palm Beach that I was interviewing and dealing with and stuff like that. And then we go ready to go to trial and they would flip. Epstein would just pay them off. And they were just like these little kids. They pay off their family. They're all broke kids and poor families and all. So you pay them off like anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000. Nothing in that guy's world.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the Midas Touch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popak's new law firm. It's called the Popak Firm. Michael Popak's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Midas Mighty and legal AFers who were approaching Michael Popak with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popak was not able to.
Sorry. Yeah, today was not a good day to stream because I've been interrupted like so many times. Thank you very much. Oh, where'd you go? God's Child, thank you for the subscription. We'll skip past the ad, but yeah, like I don't understand how anybody follows this dude. I mean, the Republicans that I grew up with in North Carolina. Drop my keys. Too many interruptions. The Republicans I grew up with in North Carolina, like over the years, all the arguments that I've had with them over the Second Amendment and how, you know, the Constitution is just so like in their blood, right? And I would have arguments about how, no, man, we need to be able to update the Constitution, and make it more viable to the society we live in today. Yeah, sure, it was great. It was a great document. We should preserve that document and those ideals, right? But we live in a different world now. A very different world of technology, of guns, of weapons of mass destruction, weapons of war. It's a very different world now. And I think it should be much easier to at least amend the Constitution, if not write a new one. Many arguments with these constitutionalists. Oh no, we've got to preserve the Constitution at any cost. I'd have Second Amendment conversations with them. Well, if you are a literalist and you believe the Constitution by, you know, the letter of the word, how can you read the Second Amendment and think that you have an individual right to a gun? It doesn't read like that. In fact, like the Second Amendment is for times like right now, when we have a government out of control with tyranny. It is the rights of the state to raise a militia, arm that militia to fight that tyranny. That's what the Second Amendment says. That's what it's for. It was written by revolutionaries that had just gotten out of a war, or previously gotten out of war. I think at that point, like there was like the 7-year period where we didn't have a constitution. Just basic fucking understanding of American history is what this country really fucking needs. God, I'm like a high school fucking dropout. Yeah, I did some college and shit, and changed, kind of changed my life around after prison, you know. But like, I have a basic understanding of American history, and I've always been fascinated with history, American history especially, World War II especially. I read Johnny Tremaine at a very young age, and just developed this fascination with the American Revolution. Later in life, I had a fascination with the Civil War. Started back when I was a racist 16-year-old kid with a rebel flag on his wall. South will rise again. I used to be a Confederate, bigot. People can change, man. That's my message to all these bigots out there when it all comes crashing home. You don't have to be that way anymore. You can realize you've been lied to. If you've been lied to about this, about all of this, you've probably been lied to about quite a lot. You know, that fictitious God you've been told that, you know, that actually gives you justification to be bigoted. You know, it's not real. You don't have to use that to justify your bigotry anymore. You can come out of that. You can come out of that world of hatred and darkness into the light of being a free mind. You can do it. You can do it. I have faith.
And I'm really proud of you, Popak. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in. And then in this next clip, Glenn Prager, again, senior investigator at the DOJ, says that Epstein has the CIA and Israel connections. And again, it could just be this. Let's be clear. It could just be Prager saying this to impress the girl he was talking to at the airport or wherever. But this guy was a senior DOJ official, and he is saying this. He didn't know he was on camera. Here, play this clip.
So DOJ was settling the case, and they were just letting him.
How do you sleep at night knowing the person that you love and that you voted for, you were willing to sacrifice family and friends and their health insurance and their children's lives? How do you sleep at night knowing that that person probably fucks little kids? At least back in the day when he was fucking everything, putting his dick in everything he could find. How do you sleep at night? I don't see how you sleep at night. I could not ever defend a pedophile. Just couldn't fucking do it. Couldn't fucking bring myself to do it. If it was Bernie Sanders, he would disgust me. He would disgust me. And again, like I said yesterday, like this isn't just a Trump thing. The Biden administration covered up for pedophiles too. They need to be fucking held there. Whoever was inside the Biden administration and chose to not release the Epstein files, who chose to allow these PDF fuckers to continue being what they are, they need to be held to account too. All of them. It don't matter party. This isn't a party thing. It's a moral thing. It's a moral thing, right? Like this is unacceptable to anybody that has morals.
Do house arrest and they minimize his arrest. Part of that is because all the victims kept on flipping and they didn't have anyone to go to trial with. The more importantly part is they didn't want to go after him. He's a asset for the United States and Israel for the CIA. I just know that's what he was.
He was an asset for the United States and Israel.
That's why he was protected so long.
Now, Trump has went on. I don't think this dude works for the Trump administration no more after all this shit. I'd be shocked if he does. He ain't what he was. But they try to pretend like this dude don't know nothing. He's just this low staffer dude. And, man, this was James O'Keefe. This was their own.
For this, and people turn a blind eye about all this garbage that he was doing in the United States. He had a lot of secrets. More about Israeli stuff than anything else. I mean, he was doing stuff for Israel and the United States. He's working for both.
So here's the official statement from the DOJ on that story. This individual worked at the Department of Justice as a program analyst over 15 years ago. He has no understanding of or access to the underlying facts in this investigation. His statement should not be considered accurate. It is disgusting that someone would further exploit the victims of sexual abuse by fabricating stories for their personal benefit. Department of Justice spokesperson. But you notice,
like 15 years ago, what?
How they always invoke the victims? Because when you listen to the victims, the survivors, that is, although some have died by suicide because of the trauma that they went through, we heard from them on Capitol Hill. They want the files released, and they are livid that Donald Trump is covering it up. We even heard from a survivor who was a Trump voter who's horrified that Donald Trump is calling this a hoax. Now, you'll note that Donald Trump has ordered the MAGA Republicans to kill the discharge petition in order for the files never to be released. Trump has ordered Republicans in the Senate and the House make sure the Epstein files never been released. No one denies that was the order. And he says this, no one denies this either. He says it is a hostile act to me, Donald Trump, hostile, if you allow these Epstein files to be released. Well, again, that's another.
Yeah, like he's been literally attacking the Republicans that have signed to unsign, putting a lot of pressure on them. Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the couple others that Nancy Mace, which I think Nancy Mace is going to fold. I really do. We'll see. Nancy Mace is reprehensible. She disgraces Congress, just dropping slurs about transgender people on the floors of Congress. Man, it's right back in the Civil War days. Have you watched Lincoln? Did you see how they were talking on the floors of Congress back then? I had thought we had come farther than that, but not according to Nancy Mace. So, I don't know. We could watch all of it, but I'm probably done. I've been streaming a couple hours now. So yeah, we live in a fucked up country, man. Christian nationalists think it's going to be them. The Nazis think it's going to be them. Like Stephen Miller has something to say about that, I'm pretty sure. You know, it's not the Christian nationalists are up in the Trump administration, but they're not the second most powerful man in the world. That would be Stephen Miller. That would be the Nazi faction. You know, like, how long do you think before they're covering up the fact that... Sorry. My right leg doesn't like to move sometimes. How long before they're going to have to cover up the fact that, you know, Donald Trump is a sick and dying man? Like, they're already covering it up, but... Or, you know, do you think that they'll cover it up when he dies? At least for a little while, until they can solidify enough power. Do you think J.D. Vance will let them cover it up? It'd be probably a big power struggle between Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance if that were to happen. They'd probably put it on the left, the radical left transgender agenda. This is like a sick and demented man that probably doesn't have much time left. A lot of doctors are starting to come out and say, like, this dude is probably not going to make... Like, just think, like, if he's sick and the stresses... Like, even a president that's only half there, just the stresses of that. Trying to implement fascism, trying to do that. If he's sick, the strain's got to be unbearable. And then it's going to be, what, J.D. Vance? I think MAGA is going to solidify behind them, especially with the cracks, with the demands for the Epstein files. Like, how many times are they going to be able to distract with these distractions? This is why I have to end. Just a second. The umpteenth interruption. I have one rule. Use the phone when I'm streaming. Unless it's important. That's my rage face now. But I am going to get off here. Kind of chill. Maybe watch some Big Brother with my little girl. Might have an open room tomorrow. If I do, it'll probably start around 4 or 5. But I've got stuff to do tomorrow. I got an order to put in with the pharmacy. I've got to call doctors and start this insurance process that I'm fucking terrified of. Man, it's a fucked up world we live in. Fucked up country. You know, I would say, like, just don't let the fascists, like, beat you into not calling them what they are. It's gonna, like, if they start locking up anti-fascists, like the civil rights lawsuits, I just don't really see how they can win these lawsuits. Like, if they're gonna lock up Jim Comey, I don't see how they're going to win. It seems like just like they can't take that to the Supreme Court, right? Like, if he's found innocent, there's no double jeopardy. Like, I don't understand the strategy. Like, made up charges, it doesn't seem like it's going to really fly, right? I don't know. But yeah, I need to get out of here. Maybe go pop a couple Tylenol. Get a little bit of autism. Fuck. We live in a crazy world. People say don't say post-truth era, but I don't see how else you can describe it. The earth is flat. The light is dark. The sun is the moon. Everything's upside down. But maybe one day it'll all be right again. Y'all have a good one.